Right now, while you are watching this, around 47 million families in the United States are convinced they are about to receive an inheritance that will completely change their lives. They think a massive wave of wealth is coming their way. They are wrong. And by the time most of them understand what is really happening, it will already be too late. $124 trillion. That is the number everyone keeps repeating. According to a major financial analysis published in 2024, that is how much wealth is expected to change hands in the United States by the year 2048. The media loves to call it the greatest wealth transfer in history, but here is the uncomfortable truth. This is not a transfer, it is a consolidation. What you are watching is not money moving from one generation to the next. You are watching wealth pile up into fewer and fewer hands. And this is not random. It follows a pattern, a very specific one, a four-stage pattern. A pattern that has wiped out the middle class in every major civilization that ever believed it was immune. Here's what almost no one tells you. This pattern is so consistent, so mathematically precise, that once you recognize it, you can actually watch it unfold in real time. Stage one is the foundation. A nation creates a currency backed by something real. Gold, silver, something tangible with undeniable value. Trust is built. Trade expands. Prosperity grows. People start to believe the system will last forever. Stage two is expansion and dilution. Costs rise. Wars become expensive. Social programs grow. Empires stretch too far. And governments do what desperate governments have always done. Quietly, carefully, they weaken the currency. Less precious metal in each coin, more paper in circulation. And all the while, they insist nothing has changed. Stage three is loss of control. Inflation speeds up. Confidence disappears. The currency starts to collapse. And this is the critical moment. The middle class, whose savings live inside that weakened money, gets crushed. At the same time, those closest to the source of money creation, the landowners, the insiders, the politically connected, they survive. More than that, they absorb what everyone else loses. Stage four is the reset. A new currency is introduced. The system is reborn. But now, wealth has moved from millions of people into the hands of a very small group. Life goes on, and most people never fully understand what just happened. Let me show you this pattern using real history. Three civilizations, 2,000 years apart. Same steps, same ending, every single time. Ancient Rome, year 64. The city is on fire. The empire is bleeding money. The ruler needs funds fast. Rome's silver coin, once nearly pure under earlier leadership, starts getting watered down. The silver content drops. Trust quietly erodes. That is stage two beginning. Over the next century, it gets worse. The same coin slowly loses more and more silver. Then a new coin appears, advertised as being worth more, but secretly containing less real value. It is monetary deception on a massive scale. Within decades, the silver content collapses to almost nothing. Prices explode. Costs multiply by 10, then by 100, then more. Small landowners are wiped out. Families lose everything. Those who own land and hard assets tighten their grip on power. The Roman middle class disappears. Check the pattern. Trusted currency, verified. Systematic dilution to fund expansion, verified. Runaway inflation and collapse of middle-class savings, verified. Currency reform and elite consolidation, complete. Now jump forward. Germany, early 20th century. After the First World War, the country is buried under an impossible debt, owed in gold-backed money it no longer has. The gold standard is gone. The economy is broken. The government faces a choice: raise taxes, cut spending, or print money. They choose the printer. At first, it seems manageable. Then it accelerates. The exchange rate spirals. What once bought $1 now takes hundreds of marks, then thousands, then millions. When foreign forces occupy a major industrial region, the response is simple: print even more money to cover the damage. By late 1923, one United States dollar is worth trillions of marks. Trillions. A loaf of bread that once cost a few hundred marks now costs hundreds of billions. Families who spent generations saving see their life's work vanish in months. Cash becomes worthless. Salaries mean nothing. Anyone holding paper money is destroyed, but those with land, gold, or foreign currency survive. In less than 2 years, the wealth of millions flows upward into the hands of a tiny elite. Same pattern. Apply it. Stage 1. Before the war, Germany ran on a currency backed by gold. Solid foundation. Check. Stage 2. War costs explode. Reparations pile up. Instead of fixing the problem, the government floods the system with paper money that has nothing backing it. Check. Stage 3. Inflation goes completely out of control. By October 1923, prices are rising nearly 30,000% per month. The economy collapses, savings are erased, the middle class is wiped out almost overnight. Check. Stage 4. A new currency is introduced, the system resets. Wealth ends up concentrated in very few hands. Pattern repeated, undeniable. Now let us talk about the most recent example. August 15th, 1971. The United States makes a quiet decision that changes everything. The dollar is no longer convertible into gold. Overnight, money becomes pure fiat. For nearly 3 decades after 1944, the global financial system was built on one promise. The dollar could be exchanged for gold at $35 per ounce. Every other major currency was tied to it. That promise was the foundation of global trust. But by the early 70s, the United States was bleeding gold. Foreign governments started demanding it back. Reserves were shrinking fast. One country alone asked for billions in gold to be delivered from American vaults. There was no way to keep the promise, so the gold window was shut. Within a little over a year, the entire Bretton Woods system collapsed, and then came the consequences. Inflation surged. The 1970s became a decade of stagnation and rising prices. Unemployment climbed. The cost of living exploded. Anyone holding dollars watched their purchasing power quietly disappear. But people holding real assets told a very different story. Real estate rose, gold surged, stocks recovered and climbed. Wealth did not vanish, it moved. Stage 1. The United States establishes a gold-backed dollar as the global reserve currency. Check. Stage 2. Decades of deficits, war spending, and monetary expansion drain gold reserves and weaken the system. Check. Stage 3. The gold link is severed. Fiat currency takes over. Inflation eats away at savings. The middle class loses ground year after year. Check. Stage 4. The modern system. Floating currencies. Record wealth inequality. The same pattern. Playing out again. Verified. And that brings us back to today. To that $124 trillion so-called wealth transfer everyone keeps talking about. Here is what you need to understand. As of 2024, the top 1% in the United States control nearly 1/3 of all wealth, tens of trillions of dollars. Meanwhile, the bottom half of the population holds barely anything. Total household wealth is at an all-time high, not because everyone is richer, but because asset prices like stocks and real estate have been inflated to extremes. And here is the detail that destroys the entire narrative. More than half of that $124 trillion is expected to come from the wealthiest 2% alone, and most of it does not trickle down. It cycles back to the top. Younger generations expect massive inheritances, tens of trillions on paper, but reality says something very different. Only a small fraction of people actually plan to leave meaningful inheritances at all. Millions are counting on money that will never arrive. For the vast majority of ordinary people, this so-called wealth transfer is not a windfall. It is a myth. This is not a gift for regular people. It is a consolidation for the elite, and it is happening for the exact same reason it always has, the same pattern. So let us walk through it one last time using the United States today. Stage 1. Did the United States build a trusted monetary system? Yes, a gold-backed dollar under the Bretton Woods system. Global trust, global dominance, verified. Stage 2. Did the United States spend decades expanding and weakening its currency? Absolutely. Since 1971, the dollar has been pure fiat. The money supply has exploded. Debt has climbed into the tens of trillions. Spending is permanent. Expansion is constant. Verified. Stage 3. Are we seeing loss of control, currency devaluation, wealth concentrating at the top? There is no debate here. Real wages have barely moved for decades. The top 1% now controls as much wealth as the bottom 90% combined. Inflation is back. Housing is out of reach for millions. The middle class is being hollowed out in real time. Verified. Stage 4. The outcome. It is happening right now. This so-called wealth transfer is the reset, the consolidation. the mathematically unavoidable result of 50 years of fiat currency expansion. You are probably thinking it. This time is different. America is special. We have technology, innovation, resilience. That is exactly what they said in Rome. That is exactly what they said in Germany. That is what every civilization says right before the pattern finishes. The pattern does not care about exceptionalism. It does not care about innovation. It only cares about math. And the math is ruthless. When you debase a currency, you punish savers and reward asset holders. Every time. No exceptions. Not once in 2,000 years. So here is the reality check. If most of your wealth is sitting in cash, savings accounts, or fixed income products, you are standing on the wrong side of history. The pattern shows this with brutal clarity. Currency debasement always transfers wealth away from the people holding money and toward the people holding real things. Land, businesses, stocks, commodities, assets that cannot be created out of thin air. That $124 trillion wealth transfer everyone keeps talking about is not a gift coming your way. It is a siphon. And unless you understand how this machine works, you are not inheriting wealth. You are funding someone else's inheritance. So what do you do? First, stop waiting for an inheritance that statistically is not coming. Second, recognize that your savings are being quietly devalued through monetary expansion while you are watching this video. Third, position yourself on the right side of the transfer by holding assets that rise when currency loses value. This pattern has repeated for 2,000 years. It is repeating right now in 2024 in the United States. And the only question that matters is whether you recognize it before Stage 4 fully completes. This machine was built centuries ago. It is operating exactly as designed. The great wealth transfer of 2024 is not a windfall. It is the endgame of a pattern that played out in Rome, in early 20th century Europe, in post-gold standard America, and is reaching its peak today. Subscribe because in the next video, I am going to show you exactly how this machine was built, who designed it, and 3 specific actions you can take right now before the final stage locks in. This is not financial advice. This is pattern recognition.